excited. I'm pleased. I'm overwhelmed. I think it's something that it's just say that your daughter is the one that is.
Wedding bells are ringing. Coco Gauff just got proposed to, and the internet is absolutely losing it. Oh my goodness, Chatterbox family, buckle up because we have got some absolutely juicy, heart-melting, scream into your pillow kind of news dropping today. And trust me, you do not want to miss a single word of this.
And last night I was tired a little bit, but then I just called my boyfriend and I told him let's talk until it was time to go to sleep. So we spoke until 1 a.m. And then I went to sleep and I woke up this morning and
We are talking romance. We are talking diamonds. We are talking about America's favorite tennis sweetheart officially being off the market. Because Coco Gauff, yes, that Coco Gauff, the reigning Roland-Garros champion, the girl who had Spike Lee losing his mind in the stands, the 21-year-old who is literally rewriting the record books in real time, has just been proposed to. And not just proposed to in some casual, low-effort way. We are talking down on one knee, ring in hand, full romantic fairy tale energy. So pour yourself something cold, get comfortable, because Chatterbox has every single delicious detail you need to know about the moment that sent the entire tennis world, and honestly the entire internet, into a complete and total meltdown.
That's her boyfriend, I guess. Her boyfriend.
Coco! Coco! Let's start from the very beginning, because this love story deserves to be told properly. Coco Gauff and her longtime boyfriend Jalen Serra have been quietly navigating one of the most beautiful and grounded relationships in all of professional sports. While Coco has been out there serving aces, winning grand slams, and becoming a global icon at an age when most of us were still figuring out how to do laundry, Jalen has been right there in her corner, steady, supportive, and clearly very, very in love. And now, in what can only be described as a moment pulled straight out of a romantic movie, Jalen got down on one knee and presented that ring in a cozy, private setting that felt as genuine and real as the woman he was asking to spend his life with.
The coolest person ever. I'm so proud of you. You're doing great, and I love you.
that's my boyfriend. And today.
Now listen, Chatterbox does not do things halfway, so let's really paint this picture for you. This was not some over-the-top, flashy, put it all over social media before she even says yes kind of proposal. No, no, no. This was intimate. This was personal. This was exactly the kind of proposal you would expect from a couple that has always kept their love sacred and away from the noise of the spotlight. And that right there tells you everything you need to know about Jalen Serra. This man knows Coco. He knows that behind the trophies, behind the endorsement deals, behind the packed stadiums and the roaring crowds, there is a young woman who values realness above everything else. And so he gave her real. He gave her a moment that belonged entirely to them, and only them, at least, until the whole world found out and collectively erupted into the most joyful frenzy you have ever seen in your life. The reaction from fans was immediate, and it was overwhelming in the absolute best possible way. Social media turned into a full-on celebration. Tennis fans, casual sports lovers, people who had never watched a single match in their lives. Everybody had something to say, and all of it was beautiful. Trending topics, congratulatory posts flooding in from every corner of the globe, fellow players sending their love, and the collective feeling that something genuinely wonderful had just happened in a world that sometimes feels like it is short on wonderful things. Because Coco Gauff is not just a tennis player to people. She is something much bigger than that. She is a symbol of grace under pressure, of excellence with humility, of being unapologetically yourself even when the whole world is watching. And so when Coco wins, whether it is on the court or in love, everybody wins with her. But here is what makes this whole story even more extraordinary, and Chatterbox loves to give you the full picture, so stick with us. This engagement is happening at what might be the most pivotal and electric chapter of Coco's entire career. The girl is not just defending her Roland-Garros title right now. She is doing it while navigating the emotional complexity of playing her closest friend on one of the biggest stages in all of tennis. And if that does not sound like the plot of a blockbuster film to you, then we need to have a serious conversation about your standards for drama. Because here is the other massive story swirling around Coco Gauff this week, that has the tennis world completely riveted. Right here, right now, at Roland-Garros, on court Philippe Chatrier, one of the most iconic, storied, electrically charged arenas in all of sport, Coco Gauff is set to face Taylor Townsend in a match that is as emotionally loaded as it gets. These two are not just opponents. They are friends. Good friends. The kind of friends who text each.
Obviously, I'm close with Taylor, and I can tell you, well, the first two things that happened. Taylor always has warmed up at the net since juniors. I played her in a challenger like when I was 14, and that's what she did.
And now they have to walk onto that enormous red clay court and try to beat each other in front of the entire world. If that does not make your stomach flip a little, you might be missing a soul. Taylor Townsend is no ordinary opponent, and anyone who thinks this is going to be a straightforward afternoon for Coco Gauff has clearly not been paying attention. Yes, Coco is ranked number 4 in the world. Yes, she has 2 Grand Slam titles sitting on her shelf. Yes, she is the defending champion at this very tournament, and she has the crowd absolutely eating out of her hands. All of that is absolutely true. But Taylor Townsend, ranked number 75 in singles this week and the number 2 doubles player on the entire planet, is one of those players who defies the rankings. She is 30 years old. She has been around this tour longer than some of the current top players have been playing professionally, and she knows every single trick in the book. Her forehand is a genuine weapon. She attacks. She moves beautifully. She has 4 doubles titles already this year alone, and she has the kind of experience and court wisdom that only comes from years and years of competing at the very highest level. And here's the thing about Taylor that makes her particularly dangerous. She is not intimidated. Not by rankings, not by reputations, not by the magnitude of the stage, and certainly not by her friendship with the person standing on the other side of the net. In fact, the one time these two met in a singles match, 7 years ago when Coco was just 15 years old and Taylor was a much more seasoned 23-year-old, Taylor won. Now, that was 7 years ago, and Coco has transformed herself into one of the most formidable players on the tour since then, but Taylor remembers. And you better believe she is not going in there thinking she cannot win. Coco herself spoke about Taylor with the kind of warmth and admiration that makes this whole situation feel even more complicated and human. She called Taylor one of the nicest people she has ever met. She talked about how Taylor always reaches out after tough moments on court, always checks in, always shows up as a friend. She described her as a mom, a great friend, a talented tennis player, and a good person.
Knowing Taylor personally, she's the opposite of that. She's one of the nicest people that I ever met. And whenever I've had a tough moment on court, she's texting me, making sure, checking in on how I am. So yeah.
And you could hear in every single word that Coco meant all of it completely sincerely. This is not bulletin board material. This is not pre-match gamesmanship. This is Coco Gauff being exactly who she is, open and genuine and incapable of pretending that the person across the net from her is just another opponent. Because Taylor is not just another opponent. Taylor is her person. And that, Chatterbox family, is what makes this match so absolutely riveting to watch. Because somewhere in that brilliant, focused, championship-caliber mind of Coco Gauff, there is going to have to be a moment where she puts aside everything she feels for Taylor Townsend as a friend and switches into the cold, precise, ruthless mode of a defending Grand Slam champion. And Taylor is going to have to do exactly the same thing. Two women who genuinely love each other, standing across a net, fighting for their careers and their dreams. If that does not give you chills, check your pulse. The backdrop to all of this, of course, is the glory and the madness that is Roland-Garros in full swing. This tournament has a way of turning everything up to 11. The stakes are higher, the emotions run deeper, the crowd is more passionate and more vocal and more alive than anywhere else in tennis.
La championne qui vient remettre son titre en jeu, Coco Gauff!
And Coco Gauff has a very special relationship with this place and this crowd that goes beyond just having one here. She spoke about how surprised she was last year during the final, how the crowd was so heavily behind her, how Spike Lee, the legendary filmmaker and one of the most recognizable faces in American sports culture, was sitting right next to her towel box and cheering her on.
The court, I was like, if I win this match, the first person I'm going to dap up is Spike Lee. And so once I won the match, I went on the ground and everything. I was headed straight to Spike Lee. And yeah, I wanted to tell him, I had to do it, even though the Knicks didn't win. I'm glad I gave him something to cheer for.
That moment, that image, says everything about who Coco Gauff is and what she represents to people. She is not just a tennis player. She is a cultural moment. She is a story that people want to be part of. Now, while all of this Coco drama is playing out in the most spectacular fashion, let us talk about some of the other stories swirling around Roland-Garros that are keeping fans absolutely glued to their screens. Because this tournament is delivering on every single front, and Chatterbox is here to make sure you do not miss any of it. World number 1 Aryna Sabalenka continues to be what she has always been, the most powerful, aggressive, and flat-out terrifying force in women's tennis. But something has shifted in Sabalenka over the past year or so, and it is something that should genuinely worry every single player in this draw. She is learning how to control herself. The old Sabalenka, the one that made so many dramatic implosions on the biggest stages, the one who would make a couple of errors and then unravel completely. That version of Sabalenka is increasingly becoming a distant memory. In her place is something far more dangerous. A Sabalenka who hits just as hard, serves just as aggressively, but now has the mental armor to weather the storms. She talked about it herself, describing her focus on making sure her opponents cannot see what is happening inside her head, on staying in the zone, on the improvement in emotional control that she believes has genuinely taken her career to another level entirely.
Just start overreacting on everything. And also, at the same time, my opponents would see that and they would step in and play better. So it was kind of both at the same time, first of all, making sure that my opponent doesn't see what's going on in my head. And at the same time, to
think about what that means for the rest of the field. Sabalenka with power and aggression was already a nightmare matchup. Sabalenka with power, aggression, and mental composure is something close to unbeatable. And everyone in that locker room knows it. Then there is Alexander Bublik, the wonderfully unpredictable, endlessly entertaining, occasionally infuriating, always watchable wild card of the men's draw, who is having what might be the most fascinating career evolution in all of tennis right now, completely, because Bublik is not the kind of man who says things he does into consistent success. And then everything clicked. He started the year by winning, just hoping something magical happens. He is engineering it. And this year at Roland-Garros, with the experience of that quarterfinal run fresh in his memory and the belief that comes from winning hardware at the start of the season, his chances are as legitimate as they have ever been. Of young Victoria Mboko, who has had absolutely the most frustrating lead up to this tournament of perhaps anyone in the draw. The Canadian had to miss the start of the entire clay court season because she was dealing with wisdom teeth surgery, which, if you have ever had yours out, you know is absolutely no fun whatsoever. And then just when she thought she was getting back into her rhythm and finding her footing on the red clay, she went and picked up a virus in Rome that forced her to withdraw from the tournament. The girl cannot catch a break. But she is here now. She has a new coach in the form of the highly respected Wim Fissette, and she is working on that slow, careful process of learning how to move and think on clay that takes so many players years to truly master. She is young, she is talented, and she is hungry. And Roland-Garros could be exactly the stage where she starts to put it all together. Standing in her way in the early rounds, however, is 20-year-old Nicola, who has some serious clay court credentials of her own. The junior Wimbledon singles champion 3 years ago and the Roland-Garros junior doubles champion in 2022. This is not someone who needs to learn the surface. She knows it. She moves on it beautifully. But in terms of professional results, Victoria Mboko still has the edge. 2 titles won last year and 3 finals reached already this year paint the picture of a player who is figuring out how to win at the highest level, which is ultimately the only thing that matters in this sport. So let us bring this all back together, Chatterbox family, because when you lay it all out like this, What you are looking at is a Roland-Garros that is delivering absolutely everything all at once. You have got the defending champion navigating the emotional minefield of playing her best friend. You have got the world #1 evolving into something even more frightening than she already was. You have got the gloriously unpredictable Bublik on a genuine mission. You have got young players fighting through illness and injury and bad luck, trying to announce themselves on the biggest stage in clay court tennis. And hovering above all of it, adding the most gorgeous, joyful, completely irresistible layer to the whole spectacular story, you have got Coco Gauff, freshly engaged, deeply in love, defending her title on the court where she became a champion, and carrying on those extraordinary red clay courts a happiness that radiates off her even before the first ball is struck. Because here is the thing about Coco Gauff that sets her apart from almost everyone else in sport right now. She does not compartmentalize her life the way athletes are often expected to do. She does not pretend that the person and the player are separate things. She is whole. She is complete. And when something extraordinary happens in her personal life, like, say, the love of her life getting down on one knee and asking her to marry him, it's a Garros story. It is woven into the fabric of this extraordinary moment in time for a young woman who is living her life at full volume and doing it with more grace and more heart than you can possibly imagine. The engagement ring is on the finger. The tournament is in full swing. The best friend is waiting on the other side of the net. The crowd at Philippe Chatrier is ready to erupt. And Coco Gauff, America's champion, the girl who made Spike Lee lose his composure in the stands, the woman who just said yes to the biggest question of her personal life, is lacing up her sneakers and getting ready to do it all over again. If this is not the greatest sports story of the year, then frankly nothing is. And you heard it first right here on Chatterbox, where we do not just give you the news, we give you the feeling. If you are sitting here right now with a smile on your face and your heart feeling a little fuller than it did before you pressed play, then do us a massive favor and hit that like button, because this kind of storytelling takes love and it takes effort, and we pour every bit of both into every single video we make for you. Drop your congratulations for Coco and Jalen in the comments. Tell us how you reacted when you heard this news. Tell us who you are cheering for in the Coco versus Taylor match. Tell us everything, because Chatterbox lives for this community and everything you bring to it. And if you are somehow not yet subscribed to this channel, what on earth are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and more stories that will make your jaw drop coming your way.